Hey, Jim. Oh, I've taken on an awfully big project here on my 650. I'm doing the coolant transfer pipe, and it's kind of fighting me, I gotta tell you. But that video will come out soon enough. I'm about to do something that some of you might think is dumb. I know I say that often, but while my 650, I have to wait for parts and a couple special tools for a few days. I'm going to try to fix this X5 again. And this video, I'm going to try to go fast and just kind of zip right through it. The video that's going to come out soon for that 650 is step by step by step, and it's going to take a lot longer. So hopefully I can be quick today. So the first thing we're going to do, what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to replace the alternator. This vehicle for 3 years has been off and on having a charging problem. There's never a warning sign on the dash about the alternator not working, and it just suddenly starts going crazy as the voltage goes lower and lower when it's not charging. So it's done it off and on, and every time I think I've fixed it, I even have a video if you look at the my playlist about this vehicle. The last one, I said it's back, it's fixed, because I put in the IBS cable, tested it for 4 weeks. Fine, everything's fine. And so, released the video, 2 weeks later, it starts not charging again. This time, we've been using it a few times, and it seems to be okay on short trips. All of a sudden, my wife comes home with it, says it was up to 15.1 volts, because we have a voltmeter on the dash now to always check and see if it's charging. Oh, well, there it is. It's the voltage regulator on the alternator. So I'm going to replace the alternator today, and I do believe that that is going to solve this car's problem once and for all. I've said that before too. Okay, I'm going to unhook the battery, raise the hood, and get started. This big silly bumper is not going to make this any easier. The last thing I did to try to correct this car was to add an additional ground cable to the engine. One of you lovely YouTube viewers suggested that maybe my engine ground was somehow corroded, so I popped that in, and it seemed to work for several days. We used it 2 or 3 times each day, and always worked fine. And then thinking, oh, maybe that actually was the solution, and then ding, starts doing it again as usual. So yeah, I'll probably leave that there. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to take off these hoses and this thing, and pop all this stuff off. Nice. It looks like I can go in right through here with the right extension and catch the little hose clamp that holds on this whole resonator assembly. You can see it down there. That hose clamp, you can loosen it up from that little hole I just showed, and then this whole resonator can come right off. Then I think I'm going to look into removing this cross member here, because I'm going to attempt to remove the fan assembly, the electric fan assembly on the back of the radiator, to give myself a little bit more clearance here when I'm trying to get the alternator in and out. These guys were 13s, and I've got them in my little tub here. And then there's this one here that's a 10 that will release this stuff from this cross member, and then I should be able to slide it back and forth and get it out of here. Okay, so now I have unplugged this plug here. There's a little clip on both sides, and it goes down right there. That is the wiring harness that leads to the fan. So now I've got to find, there's little clips on the sides that I have to pry back, and then this whole fan assembly should lift up out of here. But before I do that, I think I'm gonna call it a day, day one on the X5 alternator project. I got pretty far along. It's good. I'm keeping my parts separate. This table's X5 table, that's 650 table. Total dream garage full of German cars that are all broken, and these two are all getting taken apart. Oh, and there's some German car parts on the wall. All right, I got about 2 hours into this. I should be able to finish it tomorrow. Now I'm going to go in and have dinner and hang out with my beautiful wife. Okay, back at it. It's going pretty good. I got the fan out. And, you know, I tried to watch a couple of videos and no one really showed really explicitly how to do it. They just said, you know, just stick in there, finger in there and push a button. Another guy says, oh, use a screwdriver. Well, let me show you what you actually have to do to get this thing out. That's the tab that sticks into a clip that stays on the car on one side. The other side, it's different. On this side, it actually folds in. It's now in the in position. Let's see here. It'll be out and it clicks into position. So it takes quite a bit of pressure to click, get it to release so you can fold it, and then you can pull this whole thing up out of and not have to take off the cooling tube, the coolant hose. So this tab goes into, let's see if I can touch it, this clip right here, and to release it you have to push this top part here. It's a little springy. You can reach in and do it with your finger. Oy. Okay, like, you know, with the fan there, you can't do it exactly like this, but you get the idea. You have to just push this top piece in. You can see it moving while you're pulling up, and it'll pop out. That one, it's pretty close to the same, but it's more hidden by hoses, but it functions just the same. And like I showed earlier, then you have to fold it into its closed position to get it past the hoses here. Well, this sure opens up a lovely big view, a nice area. So I'm going to be removing the fan belt, but you know, here we go, the slippery slope. Doing a quick visual inspection, I notice that we are leaking coolant right here. You can see where it's wet there. So that really means I should replace this lower radiator hose while I'm in here, you know. And then look over here, and this upper radiator hose, look at the color that the plastic is turning. So this really needs to be replaced as well, because it's doing it over here as well. So this whole thing is a ginormous pipe. It goes all over the place, and this includes the vent pipe that goes underneath the intake manifold. But since I just removed the intake manifold just like this off my 650, I think I can reach in there with a quarter extension and get the clamps off without removing anything else. So I should be able to do this hose without having to remove anything too severe. But it's going to delay my finish time, perhaps, because certainly can't get those hoses here today, but I can order them. I use my shop vac to suck out a bunch of the coolant. I started out by taking some off of here without really creating a perfect seal here, so I don't damage anything, but just suction some out until hopefully the level gets below here, and then I pop out the wire guy, to ventilate everything, and then I can create a seal here, and it sucks out a couple gallons. I mean, I think it pretty much, we'll see when I take the bottom hose off, which I might not do right now. I am removing this upper hose to give myself better chance at seeing what I'm doing on my alternator. And when I just barely touched this guy, you can see it broke right off here. I don't think it was already leaking, but boy, I just breathed on it and boop, off it came. So good thing I'm doing this. They're already ordered from SCP Euro. Okay, upper radiator hose is off, and boy, was that a ticking time bomb. Look at that. I barely touched it, and that other little nipple had broken off, like I showed you. And then when I went to try to wiggle it off the fitting with the wire pulled up, it just came off like I barely touched it. Boink. It's very brittle. Can't believe it was in there that long. But I've got a new one on the way. Yeah. Okay, back to my alternator. In order to take the belt off, right here you can see I have my T60, and you can see right there the T60 fitting that you put it into. And once you're in there, you turn it righty-tighty to actually loosen the belt. So it'll take two hands, but once I have it loosened here, I'll pull it off this top pulley and just go ahead and get it out of the way. But before I take off the fan belt, I'm going to use my highly developed artistic skills to create a diagram of how the belt works. There we go. This will make it so I can get the belt back on and everything will work again. All right, so I didn't spend that much time on it. Now I have removed the whole belt tensioner. It's just one bolt here that holds it on. It's a 16 millimeter. All right, so now I've got my new one parked here, and I think I have it oriented fairly closely to the way it lives in the vehicle. You can see this raised hole right here. That's where an idler pulley goes, and then there's a long bolt right behind it that goes all the way back to here. So you're going to need quite a bit of clearance to get that bolt out of there, which means down here, there is the idler pulley, and there's the head of that bolt that we need right there. And idler pulley has a cover on the front of it that I popped off. You can see it's got a T-type bolt there, but also you can see there's no clearance. So this thing, I don't even know what that is. Oil cooler maybe? Anyway, this thing has to move, and that means this bracket has to get loosened. And I see it, one there, one there, one there, and it, no, that's just greasy buildup from an oil leak. So it looks like a few connectors here that I'm going to have to undo to relieve this. Looks like the hose is flexed, so I think I can just undo those, and I'll be able to get to this, get this idler pulley off, and then I'll be able to get back to this bolt. And then it looks like the other bolt is this one here. And then it looks like if I look straight down through, there's one way down here that is our bottom one, which is right there. All right, that was a T50, and it was really tight. It wrecked one of my T50 bits, but I didn't wait. I didn't keep going until it was destroyed. The bolt was destroyed. I stopped, and I got a better T50 bit and was able to finally, get it out. Okay, so now I can start getting those other three that actually hold the alternator in. And that bracket that I had to loosen to make this thing move, I only needed to take off the two nuts They were 10 millimeters, and they were covered with a lot of greasy old nasty leaking oil, but we're going to ignore that for now. Okay, I got the 2 bolts out. They are E12. So they've got like this star profile, and they're pretty covered with nasty old greasy leaking oil crap. So I have to do, now there's a little, looks like maybe a 10 millimeter down there that looks like it holds a bracket here. So I'm going to undo that one, and then I think the alternator is going to be able to be wiggled loose so it can come forward, and then I can unhook the electrical connections on the rear. All right, I used my greasy pry bar here and very gently sort of stuck it inside there and kind of wiggled it out, and now the whole thing is loose and it's just laying in here. So now it'll be trying to get it up and out of here, and you can see here I put a piece of cardboard by the actual radiator so I don't hopefully damage it. And that's also to keep me from banging into it with tools and that sort of stuff. But now getting this out and the new one in, the cardboard will hopefully help me from damaging my radiator fins. All right, it was difficult, but I finally got it to pop all the way out. I had to push the hose out of the way and bend that bracket down a little more. I might have missed out. I probably should have undone the bottom nut wherever that is. But anyway, it's out, and now I can undo these 2 electrical connections and then lift it out of here, and then we will have crossed the threshold, because then I can start putting the new one in. Yay. All right, I got everything unhooked. That was very tight, that nut on there, but I think that means it is out of here. Oh, there we go. Yay. Wow, this thing looks pretty sketchy. It is covered in oil. I should do something about that, but I'm not gonna. Not now. I'll do it later. Look at all that oil. Yikes. All right. Well, this has got to make the car work good again. We got the old one out. I'm about to start putting the new one in here, but I think I'm going to start that tomorrow. Up to about 3.5 hours today. That means I have a total of, I think, 5.5 hours. Now, I have my X5. I had to order parts. They're not coming for like a week. And now I have my 650. I got my specialized tool. I got my hose, my parts. So I can get back on this tomorrow. Nice. All right, thanks. This bumper is killing me. Whoever put this on is killing me here. Anyway, I have to work from the sides. I can't really work from the front because it makes the reach impossible. So anyway, I finally got the alternator in there where it's not all the way in yet, but I got the rear end, the rear tab to actually clear and go in, and that's the last. It took me about 1.5 hours of struggle to get it to this point, including hooking up the wiring and making sure that's all routed correctly, etc. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it in place, bolt it down, put on the wheel, and put back on that bracket and all that stuff, and put on the belt, and then we'll just be waiting for the new hoses, and the moral to that story is if the fittings on your plastic fittings on your hoses look like parchment paper, you should probably replace them. All right, I'll let you know when I get the parts back in. Another beautiful rainstorm has begun. Okay, as you can see, I have the alternator in. Everything's torqued out. I did everything at about 17 foot-pounds. It was tricky getting the belt back in. In order to get the belt back in, I had removed the tensioner and the idler pulley here on the alternator. So once I got the new alternator in, I put the idler pulley back on, and then I went to try to put the tensioner on, and the tensioner is up against the idler pulley, so you couldn't really get this little block that has to go between these tabs into place. So I had to take this idler pulley back off in order to get the tensioner on, and then use my T60 to move the pressure off this tensioner in order to get my idler pulley back on and the bolt in. So it's kind of a bit of a trick. And this was extremely useful. All right, so this is about as far as I'm going to get. I'm still waiting on the hoses. I might put like this hose back on, a couple other little things, but I'm waiting on my hoses and my 4 gallons of coolant that I ordered from FCP Euro. So now I'm going to go back to my 650 project. You'll see that in a different video. The 650 is done. Double tested, just can't get it out till I get this finished. My hoses came a day early, hooray. So I'm going to go ahead and install these 2 new radiator hoses. I'm cleaning the nipples, a little bit of Scotch-Brite maybe, and then once everything's cleaned and wiped clean, I'm going to take a little bit of my lubricant here and put just a little tiny bit inside on the O-ring. That way it'll slip right on, and when you put these on, if you're reusing it, you have to lift it up the little wire, push it back down into place, and then they just slide right on and go click, and you're done. With these new ones, the wires are already down. You don't have to do anything except I put a little lube on, slip them on, and they go click, and you're good. Once I get those on, I'm going to refill the coolant system with, I got 4 new gallons of coolant there. Thank you, FCP Euro. And once I get the cooling system recharged, I will perform a pressure test and make sure that nothing's leaking before I go ahead and put back in my fan and the shroud and all of that stuff. My new lower hose did not come with a new sensor, so I have removed this one from the old pipe, and it looks pretty grungy. I'm going to take some time and really try to clean this thing up and try to reuse it, and then if I have a problem with it, I'll know right where to go to swap it out. It shouldn't be that hard to reach in and swap it out later if I have to. The only O-ring on this seems to be the green one, so it looks like it's in decent shape. So I'm going to hope that this was just leaking a little bit here because it was dirty. And if it starts to leak again, yeah, you know the drill. Okay, coolant's refilled. Nothing's leaking. Did a pressure test. Nothing leaked. It's all good. It looks a little wet down there because of some coolant that leaked out when I was removing the old hoses. All of these hoses clipped on without me retracting the wire after I've lubricated them. They all just were able to be put on and clicked. This one has a little pin on it, a little dowel that has to fit in that hole right there on the metal. So this one you have to make sure that it's aligned just right. I had to add my own hose clamp here, and then the only joint that I had to mess with was this hose here. It goes underneath, and you probably can't even, well, maybe my thumb, yeah. There's a fitting there on a plastic thing. It's a plastic fitting, and I could not get that one to go on that fitting with lubrication and everything. So I ended up having to actually back the wire out on that one in order to get the fitting to slip on all the way and then snap the wire back in. So everything else just clipped right on. Okay, so everything's good. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the fan and put the rest of the stuff on top of the engine here, hook up my battery, and give her a test. Oh, hold the phone. Look at right there. My new hose. That sensor is leaking. You can see it running a little bit down right there on the side of the new fitting. Doggone it. Okay, so what am I going to do? I think I'm going to hook the battery up, and I'll put the airbox back on, and I will start this up and move it out of here so I can get the 650 out and then bring it back in, because I'm going to have to order a new sensor, and I'm going to have to take all of the coolant that I just put in, my brand new coolant, back out, because I would rather reuse it. Oh, doggone it. Beginning of day 6. Front door. Okay, so I got my new this is a temperature sensor that acts as a switch to turn off and on the fan that is not currently installed. You can see the old one down there. Yep, still leaking. It's not a real fast leak, but you can see it dribbling there. So hopefully, because this system is still sealed, I'll be able to unplug the old one from the hole there and pop in the new one without losing too much of my coolant. Okay, new one's in. Went pretty well, only lost a couple of ounces, and I had everything ready to go. And so I just pop it out, pop the new one in after putting a little bit of my new special lube on the O-ring. So hopefully that solves the leak. So now I can get on with putting the electric fan assembly back in this big boy here. So we know that this is the top. We know that this tab slips in where the little clippy thing is, and that this one has to fold out to slip into the place after it's past the coolant hose. And down here we've got a tab here and a tab here, and those tabs go down at the very bottom there. You can see the little slot right there is the little slot that tab is supposed to fit into, and there's another one over there. So if we get the bottom tabs in that slot on each side, and then the little front ones in the clips, then it'll be in there pretty good. Okay, I got the fan back in, and the whole thing with putting the fan in is it has to go in perfectly level. You can't put it in a little this side, a little that side, a little this side. It's got to go in fairly straight and level to be able to fit between everything. And when it comes time, you have to click that open, and that little folding thing is kind of difficult to put enough pressure on it to make it snap into place. But then once you do, then you have to feel around for making sure your two pegs are going in at the bottom correctly, and then both sides have to slip into the clips at the same time. You can't put in one side, or at least I couldn't. You can't put in one side and then put in the other. You have to kind of get them both started, get both of your bottom feet in, and all of a sudden, click, 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 everything will go into place, and you'll be good to go, just like this is. So now I'm going to put in this cross member. Okay, this thing's a little tricky to fit back in. I ended up putting this end underneath those hard lines there, and then this end I had to put clear up, swing clear up here to get it under this line, and then it wouldn't fit here against this reservoir, so I had to bring it up, flex the line a little over the reservoir to finally get it to slip into place here. So now we'll bolt her down. Okay, got the air boxes back in. Just put in the nice air cleaners. So now I'm going to install the top. I've got all the clips pushed back so it'll clear easily. Sometimes these guys will be up like that, and then it'll be hard to put the top on. So make sure all the clips are leaning back. Place this top on, then I'll just put my connector snorkel with the 2 hose clamps on that connects my throttle body to the air box. Then I still have to put in the rivets that go here and pop the snorkels here into the top of the grill, and then pop the little fancy engine cover on the top of the whole shebang, and we're done, I think. So you can see the end of that hose clamp way down in there. And in order to get to it, I used this long extension setup and reached in from underneath. It probably would have been easier before I put the snorkel in, but I still got it with this. All right, I'm going to snap the top on. I think we're done. Okay, all done. Let's try it out. Okay, still got my voltage gauge down there. It says 11.5, 11.6, 11.5, 11.7. It should start climbing soon. 11.9. There we go. 12.7, 13.2, 13.7. Nice. It works. All right. That's a problem. The electric fan is running and the car was just started. So I'm going to guess that my $10 delivered switch that I just put in earlier is faulty, or maybe I didn't get the plug put in correctly, but I'm going to have to check that out. Doggone it. Okay, I dove down in there and double checked all the plugs and everything, and I didn't really notice anything. I just kind of wiggled it all, and now the fan is not running inappropriately. So maybe it was just some first startup anomaly with the new sensor, I'm not sure. But it's working right now, hooray! So, gonna take it for a test drive. Doesn't look like the digits are readable on my phone here, but if they don't come through readable, it's showing 14.1 volts, so it's charging perfectly. Okay, well that took me about 13 hours of labor spread out over about 6 days. It cost about $560. And I now have run the vehicle through several more cycles that would usually trigger one of its previous no charging moments, like going to the gas station, shut it off, go inside, come out, 10 minutes later, start it up, no charge. Well, I've run it through several cycles like that, and it seems to be working good. And it's working a little different than it used to, so something it's changed, and I hope it's for a permanent better, because last time I posted a video about this vehicle saying that the gremlins were gone, they came back about 4 or 5 weeks later. So this time, I hope they're vanquished for good. And now I know when I start driving it, it's going to end up popping the coolant transfer pipe, and I'll end up having to do that job again on my X5. We'll just have to wait and see which one explodes first, the X5 or the 650. But now that I've fixed both of them, apparently, I'm starting to feel fairly confident. So maybe I need to look into trying to fix that bad boy soon. Wouldn't that be cool? Thanks for watching. That is beautiful. Speedster.
Look at the